my name's Stefanos, and this is Sunday night. It's gonna end in a couple of hours, like 12 hours from now. But before it ends, I just thought I'd show off my Barbarian and give a couple of thoughts on some issues and things that some of y'all in the community have been talking about and discussing. And I'll just go ahead and get the big elephants out of the room.
I need more time.
So my thought on the casual player base is pretty grim and dark. Like I don't mind new people coming in and experiencing the game and stuff. I like new people and I like casual players. Some of them anyway, but for the most part I don't. And the reason being is because, these individuals, they're pretty mean and toxic on the internet, for example. They want to, have some pretty annoying 14-year-old energy about things. They're not creative and they're not constructive in their criticism, and they don't provide solutions. And one of the solutions that I came up with was having a different bracket system for casual players and more, let's say, committed players, hardcore players, whatever you want to label us. And the difference of of these brackets would be simple. You have one that has green set items, so that way people can have their one button to win and their one button Andy methods of doing things and have fun doing it, right? But I also don't think they deserve a leaderboard, because how can people sit here and talk about anti-competitiveness and talk about, anti-elitism and anti-hardcore, anti-neckbeard, whatever their argument is against putting effort into a video game? Why should they get leaderboards when they argue against competitive nature gameplay? That's my first question to the anti-hardcore community, right? Is why do you think you deserve leaderboards if you're not competitive, or don't want to put the time in to be competitive? And the second question I have is why is it okay for you people to say it's okay to shoehorn us into a watered down version of a game that is not that, has 30-year precedence over, say, something like Fortnite? You don't see, old school, air quote, neckbeard players go into Fortnite and demand the skill ceiling be raised higher to accommodate their competency level in a video game, right? You don't see that. But what you do see are a bunch of 14-year-olds who can't play video games come into a game that is a hardcore environment or has a history of having a hardcore environment, and then watering it down for the sake of their enjoyment. Okay, but fine, have your own part of the game, but don't say it's okay to water down our experience for the sake of your experience. That's the double standard that infuriates everybody. It's okay for you to water us down, but it's not okay for us to tell you to get good, right? That's essentially what I'm trying to say. And, I just think all of you were fucked up for not providing any solutions and then just continuing down this controversy rabbit hole. And that statement's not just directed toward all the shitters in the comments section and the Twitch comments. This is also directed toward content creators, both big and small. Don't sit here and justify and simp for a company to water down a video game for the sake of their profit margins so they can make an extra couple $1 million. You're pathetic for doing that. You're essentially waving a big red sign that says, "I will lie for a paycheck." Right? It's that kind of talk that makes people look at you and say, "This person's a shill. This person's obviously being compensated in some form or another by these companies to sit here and run interference, provide misinformation, and flat out lie on their behalf." Okay? When you sit there and start simping and justifying the company doing that, that's what makes people look at you and say, you're a fucking shill. So there's my feedback to all of you content creators. Stop giving people a reason to call you these things, because quite frankly you don't work for these people supposedly, and therefore you shouldn't be having that kind of an opinion, right? I thought you were a gamer. Gamers don't have an opinion like that. That's the opinion of someone who works in the office for that said company. It's very rare, if unexistent, for people to have that kind of an attitude, especially if you claim to be an old school Diablo player. You most certainly do not support that kind of business. So again, there's yours, content creators. You don't get to have it both ways either. So that all being said, we're going to get into the actual part of this video that y'all came here for, which was the Barbarian and my build. So first thing I want to point out is I have 420 life. Alright, that's an achievement within itself. Armor 2400, Tactar 612. So here's my helmet piece, and I'm just going to go down the list here, and you can pause and look at all of this yourself on your own time. And you can go in my comments down below and tell me how much of a fucking elitist asshole I am, and also how stupid I am for my opinions, which are not really opinions. These are kind of facts. Like this ideology of anti-competitive nature is truly ruining game development, and it's causing unnecessary controversy, which makes the market unstable. Facts. We don't need that. We don't need that noise. Let me get over here to this dungeon real quick, and we're gonna go down here and smash it real fast. Okay, so again, here's the build. Yes, things could change to be better. Really not motivated to do it, considering it's a beta that's going to be deleted in a few hours, but this is what I've managed to do in the time that I've had with it. I know lifed it last weekend on the closed beta. I just didn't feel like it this weekend, so here we go.
I'm low on fuel. I need more fury.
So obviously the whirlwind is for crowd control, and then I have my frenzy and my rend here for bosses and elites. I did not go over my skills. I apologize for that, but I will at the very end go over the skills, because I'm gonna make you watch the whole video.
I'm low on fury.
Let's get to the end. I don't care. But you're not gonna see the build, my actual skills, until we get to the end here. So. You can look down at the bar and see for yourself, and I'll explain it as I go. But basically, my legendaries give me the ability to chain my leap, and my ground stock resets it. So I also have thorns in there, so it also helps. But what you do essentially is you kick, and it'll reset your leap, and you can leap again. You're out of energy.
need more fury.
See, the trick with Whirlwind in this game, or in this version of Diablo, is that you actually have to have enemies around you to generate fury. So as long as you've got more than 3 enemies around you, you can indefinitely Whirlwind. But you want to be able to ground stomp as well, because if you don't ground stomp, you're not going to get
I'm low on fury.
and you just basically attack around, you know, quickly. So, you know, it's a pretty easy build, but it's not brain dead like Thorns. So if this is what you guys were looking for in a Barbarian build, here you go. I'm sure there's going to be other people out there that have different builds better than mine, and that's fine, but I just think
More fury.
It's pretty good. It has a lot of utility and it has a lot of crowd control. Because a lot of the legendaries that I've noticed have crowd control modifiers, so that's where you need to start. I mean, your basic attack is all about fury generation anyway. So however you want to generate your fury, it's pretty much on you.
I'm not ready yet. Lift more.
Oh, I'm out of room. So, yep. I'm gonna come back and finish this dungeon though. I'm not gonna leave y'all hanging.
Anything else?
The main point of this was not just for the memory, so that, you know, it won't be completely deleted. It's also to show you guys on the internet that the Barbarian is not as bad as you think it is.
I know. I must wait. I don't have enough don't have enough fury.
Even without that brand really does do a lot of the heavy lifting.
I must wait. I'm out of fury. I'm not ready yet.
Dungeon complete. But yeah, y'all see now that Whirlwind's only good when you're doing, you know, multiple targets, right? It's not good against single. So, if that's anything to go by, you know, it's pretty obvious to see, you know, how it's going to go in the future. I mean, obviously it could be wrong. You know, things are not set in stone, obviously, and yada yada yada. But I just feel that based on the way it's set up, it's going to play more like Diablo 3 toward the end game versus, you know, Diablo 2. And I have a fear for that. Because right now, it does feel like Diablo 2. But that's only the beginning game. So, and then, of course, these set pieces enabling people to just walk around and, like I said before, just log into the game and the gameplay itself, and they wind up in the leaderboards. I think a lot of you understand where I'm coming from. I'm coming off like an asshole about it, but, I mean, honestly, you know, we really need to start, you know, doing right by people. So, yeah, I mean, the casuals should have their own leaderboard, and the other people should have their. I just feel that there should be two different leaderboards, right? You need to have a leaderboard for casual players so that they can use their set pieces and see where they rank in that environment. But there also should be another environment within the game that doesn't have these set pieces, and you actually have to play the game like original Diablo and Diablo 2. And I believe that is a much more rewarding experience, and I feel that a lot of other people feel the same way. So that's basically it on that. You know, the game looks great, the art design's great. You know, some of the transmogs are cool. Like I'm not able to, you know, turn my mace into a sword or my swords into maces or whatever like I could in D3. I would like to see that come back, you know, please, because I really hate anything that's not a sword, personally. But, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. You know, I feel it's gonna be more like D3 toward the end of this game than D2, and the only reason why that everyone's having a positive outlook right now is that the only thing we're seeing right now is kind of a Diablo 2, you know, version of that. Like, we haven't seen the full game, therefore we don't have the full picture. I feel that, you know, if Blizzard knew that the power curves of this were as crazy as they were, like the difference in power levels between classes at 25 were as different as they were, that they knew that most of you were going to complain and say something about that. And in my mind, that's kind of like controlled feedback or controlled criticism. It did take me a couple of weeks. You know, the first week I would not have seen this, but, you know, now that I've had, you know, 2 full weekends of this game and, you know, actually being able to tweak out a little bit of this character, I do have some concerns for the end game aspect of D4, and I also just would like to see, you know, the casual player base have their own thing going, right? You know, but we should, like, the hardcore, the more committed, should also have its own bracket, so it gives people a reason to want to elevate themselves into a higher competitive scene. It's not so much making casuals look like, you know, shit. It's more like, hey, casuals, don't you want to try to do this and see where you sit on this? And, you know, you want to talk about giving people that little push, right, Asmund? Well, there you go. Give them the push. You know, and give people a reason to want to play the way that we want to play, right? Instead of, like, both parties trying to literally degrade each other and drag each other down, because that's essentially what we're doing, instead of trying to elevate each other up. And, you know, companies that are throwing all of us sharks and the fishes in the same pond together aren't giving the avenues or giving the environments for us to thrive in, so that we don't, you know, inadvertently impede each other's gameplay, because I feel that there's a little bit of that going on too. You know, there's such a cultural divide and generation that,
you know, some people are just feeling like they're being oppressed, but other people feel like they're just playing video games the way they have been for the past 30 years. So this ideological divide between our generations has got to stop as well, because we're not the same and we're never going to be the same. So that's essentially all I got to say about that, guys. Like, just, you know, game companies need to be more responsible and more mindful of the audiences that they are catering to and that they're not catering to, right? And and because of this flat out discrimination, it's caused, you know, a lot of ill sentiment and, you know, just mistrust, like just lack of trust in the industry. You know, all these things could be avoided if the companies would just stop appeasing one side or the other disproportionately, instead of looking at it as in, let's give people the game types that they want to play in, versus trying to make everyone play one game type, thus causing the controversies. Because, you know, Diablo's a game, like I've said before earlier in this video, that was made 30 years ago. We're in a completely different genre of gaming with limited, you know, input devices. So, you know, that being said, there are things that need to come into a newer Diablo game, like WASD for movement. That's a given. And the reason why it's not so much because Asmon said so, it's because when you actually take a look at the controller, right, and play with it, like an Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller, you can clearly feel the difference in disparity between how easily it is to move and the freedom of it, and then of course having every single button bound, right? So that way your attack button and your movement button aren't on the same key, so you're having to use modifiers on your keyboard to get this to mimic the same movement that a controller is doing. This disparity is not going to play out well in PvP in the future, and I feel that in order to close that disparity, we need WASD in this version of Diablo, and that's my argument for the community and toward Blizzard, because, you know, it's not 1996 anymore, and we don't have a single click mouse, so there's no reason for it to be that way in 2023. Okay. So is there anything else I missed? No, I think I pretty much covered all the bases there, and I've also said some things that most of you other bigger and smaller content creators won't say, because you either A, have the favoritism, or B, seek the favoritism. I do not want either. I actually have a job, so that's why I'm able to say these things. My name is Stefanos, and oh, I almost forgot. How could I almost forget the abilities? Told you I'll wait till the end. Got him. So there it is, Frenzy, and I took defensive abilities for Frenzy. A couple of points in Whirlwind, and I took the slashing for bleed damage. And the reason I did that is because of this particular legendary skill right here. It's the only reason. And if I wasn't using this one, this legendary skill, I would totally be using the other one, which is 30% more damage after being channeled for 2 seconds. Yeah, there it is. So, then you have Rend. Rend's pretty self-obvious, self-explanatory. You hit it, it bleeds to death. Now, you can either go for more damage or you can go for more Fury Generation. It depends on you. The mandatory things you need for this build is you need Ground Stomp, you need Leap, and you need Kick. Alright? Reasons being is because Ground Stomp and Kick will reset the cooldown of Leap with the way that I have all the legendaries set up on this character. Okay? So basically, like I said and I showed you earlier, you're going to want to Leap, Ground Stomp, Leap, Kick, and then you can Leap again. So if you count that, you can Leap 5 times in a row if you do it correctly. That is so much damage and so fucking fast. That mobility though, boys, if you want to get around and kill everything fast, that's how you do it. And like I said, depending on what you're engaging, you Whirlwind, spend the wind with those tornadoes, or you beat them the fuck down with Frenzy and Rend. That's it. It's a very simple build. It does take a little bit of brain power, But the only reason why it's a little bit of brain power is because I have a very little bit of shit to work with, right? I mean, I could do the other builds that you guys are doing, but fuck that noise. I'm Defano, so I do my own thing. The next thing is the last 5 points. You can do whatever the hell you want with these, honestly. You can stack more of these up if you want to for more optimal damage, or you can do like I did, which is more attack speed one-handed, and when you're and in closer enemies you get 6% more damage. So I find that to be more effective in these dungeon runs, because if you stack too much of this AoE shit, you become less effective toward bosses, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you know all about that from the Whirlwind build and D3, because you just simply don't have the single target DPS to make it go down fast, which is what Rend and Frenzy is all about. Attack speed, critical damage, and all that malarkey, right? So the gems are the thing that, man, do whatever the fuck y'all want with the gems. I don't give a shit. Like, it doesn't matter, honestly. It really doesn't. Like, none of the gem slots matter until you get like level 30, 45. Like, and I mean that. Like that's the bracket when gems actually start mattering. It's like between levels 30 and like 45. And then like 45 up, you just have to have your gems right, otherwise you don't progress. Or at least that's how it worked in D2. In D3, no one gave a fuck. But anyway, that's the build. So one last time, so you can see everything I have. And yes, it could be better, and that's only because I'm, again, not motivated to min-max it completely. Lack of the ability to farm the materials I need to do said min-maxing. And then, of course, the fact that all of this is going to be deleted in literally 12 hours. There you go, boys. See you later.